right now. You ready to rock, Troy?
Let's get to it, man. I'm ready.
We start with the Thursday nighter, September 14th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, and Troy has a teaser on this game, and this is the first half of that teaser. It's official. He's tweeted it out, and he will talk about that spot. I have not moved on it. Vikings, Eagles, Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 69 Fahrenheit, clear 9 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here right off the hop. From a spread perspective, all of the market moves we are doing are Pinnacle. Now, Pinnacle does not put these lines out before the games are finished. So Bet Online and other books will give you look-ahead lines. Pinnacle does not do that. So we're dealing with Pinnacle lines here for our market moves. This opened up at 7.5. 7.5 Sunday night at 7:55 p.m. and it moved to 7 last night, just before midnight, moved to 7. It was getting juiced, the plus 7.5. So it moved to 7, which is where it is right now. So we have a half-point move towards the Minnesota Vikings. From a total scenario, Pinnacle sitting at 49. They opened this up at 48, and they moved it to 49 today, Tuesday at 4:23 p.m. When we get to the cash flow for our first game on the board, the Thursday nighter, we already have 45,805 tickets in. 40% of the tickets and 73% of the cash is on the Minnesota Vikings plus 7. That's why we've seen that half-point move towards them. Then you have 60% of the tickets and 52% of cash on the over. And we've seen a move from 48 to 49. Vikings come in off an ugly 2017 home loss to the Buccaneers. We were all over the Buccaneers in that spot. They closed as 4-point favorites. Kirk Cousins looked good at times through the air, but same old issues with him. He lost 2 fumbles. He threw an interception. They were also incapable of moving the ball on the ground. We know that Alexander Mattison is now in control of the running game with Dalvin Cook no longer on the squad. Now a New York Jet, 34 yards on 11 carries. He did not look good. Can he handle the pressure of being a RB1? Cousins, though, finished 33 of 44 for 344 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Justin Jefferson started where he finished off last season. He caught 9 passes for 150 yards. 23rd overall pick out of USC. Jordan Addison looked great. Caught 4 passes for 61 yards, a TD in his first career game. Now, problems. They lost starting center Garrett Bradbury to a back injury during the second drive of the game, and he didn't return. He only played 7 of 64 snaps, and it hurt them. It hurt them when he missed 5 games last year with the exact same injury. Defensively, they were unable to put enough pressure on Baker Mayfield. Danielle Hunter had the lone sack. The Vikings, as a team, only had 2 quarterback hits on Baker Mayfield. Marcus Davenport was inactive after getting hurt in practice during the week. He signed that 1-year, $13 million contract in the offseason, and he was sorely missed on the pass rush. We do not know if he will be available at this point for Thursday night. Eagles coming off a hard-fought 25-20 victory at New England. They closed to 3.5-point favorites in the victory. There's still a lot of work to do. Clearly, new offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, new defensive coordinator Sean Desai, but a winning start for the Eagles. The Patriots did outgain them badly, 382 to 251. Jalen Hurts 22 of 33 for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He also ran 9 times for 37 yards and lost a fumble. Belichick had months to prepare for the Eagles, and he's a spectacular defensive mind. So there are some reasons for the lack of total yards that were created by the squad. A.J. Brown had 7 catches for 79 yards. Devonta Smith, 7 for 47. Kenneth Gainwell, 14 carries for 54 yards and caught 4 passes for 20 yards. The defense was strong as expected. Darius Slay returned that pick, 70 yards for a TD. He's a monster. Reed Blankenship, 12 tackles. They got 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, but they lose Nakobe Dean, linebacker, left in the second half with a foot injury, and he won't be playing. He was wearing a boot after the game. Fletcher Cox left following a fourth quarter injury. And Jack Elliott, 4 for 4 on field goals, but missed an extra point, hit from 56 and 51. Now has 21 kicks of 50 yards or more. He's a monster. That was what we saw on Sunday. The Vikings have a real problem moving the ball on the ground, and that could hurt them badly here. Take it away, talk about your teaser, and let's discuss if we want side or total and move on the Thursday nighter. Take it away, Troy.
So totals is something I haven't really gotten to yet. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And if you don't, you should follow me on Twitter because I come out with a lot of the market trends and the specifically as it relates to totals later in the week. But yeah, this Vikings team, to me, they are who we thought they were. They were due for regression. All those one-score games and lucky, bounces their way last year didn't seem to happen in the Bucs game like I actually thought it was going to at one point. They were average to a little bit slightly above average on offense with a pretty badly rated defense. And they let the Bucs dictate the pace of the game. They basically handed that over to Baker Mayfield. The offensive line actually looked decent. Pass blocking, they were ranked 10th in week 1, run block 17th, but they weren't able to generate any yards on the ground. I mean, what was it? Less than 2 yards per carry, 2.5 yards per carry. And on the defensive side, I mean, they were the third worst team in pass rush per PFF in week 1. And you got to give credit to the Bucs, who I think was really criminally underrated in week 1. Specifically in that game, but probably in the entire market in general. And then looking at the Eagles, I mean, Jimmy touched on a couple good points. I mean, I was kind of expecting a slow start. I didn't move on the Patriots, but I was pretty damn close. They looked lackluster in week 1, especially offensively. The starters didn't play in the preseason. They got new coordinators. They jumped out to a 16-point lead to an interception and a fumble. And let me tell you something. When you get out to a lead like that, you kind of lose your sense of urgency. And that's what makes live betting so powerful too, is that like when a team jumps out to an early lead, you usually see a resurgence of the team that's down 16 or 2 scores or whatever it is at that point. So we ended up seeing that. Jalen Hurts was 22 for 33 for 170 yards. Not very good. Eagles O-line pass blocking grade was 23rd after week 1. And I think that kind of reflects Belichick more than the offensive line. You give Belichick a whole season to prepare. A bunch of unique blitz packages that clearly confused Hurts. He was one of the most blitzed quarterbacks in week 1. And I think it's just a matter of time before this offense clicks and resembles who they were in this, when they made it to the Super Bowl last year. I think that's coming. On the defensive side, they look solid. I mean, they graded out pretty damn good. The most QB hurries by far at 21. So as many times as they were blitzed, they hurried Mac Jones, who actually looked a lot better this week, and we'll get to them later. But, I think Belichick had the Pats ready in week 1, and I think it's going to be a walloping this weekend. The Eagles at home were 8-3 ATS as a home favorite last year, and the Vikings were 1-3 as an away dog. But the database on 7-point home teams says take the 7-point. I mean, it's just crazy to me when you start looking and delineating between the lines that are set. 7 points is not the same as 6.5 or 6. The 7 is a lot stronger, showing a lot more strength. So if this number starts dipping down below 7, I'm going to start backing off the Eagles a little bit. But as for now, sitting at 7, I really like this number, especially in a teaser.
And they are your first half of your teaser. You have them here -1. We'll talk about the addition to that teaser. I'm hesitant about moving on a 7-point favorite, but that's the only way I'm looking at this point. I'm only looking Eagles. I do not want the Vikings. It's too bad the two teams that, sort of underwhelmed in the public's eyes are playing against each other. It's too bad. I can't really take advantage of that. The only thing I want is if the Eagles, and I don't want them -7 at this point. Birdie like in the Eagles' first quarter here. I think
Jimmy,
that's a nice
what do you think about the market with about 50% of the bets on both the money line and the spread on the Vikings? Obviously, the sharp money's on the Vikings, but what's your thought on the market? I mean, is that telling you anything?
Well, yes, and so we've seen it move from 7.5 to 7. So clearly, the market sees sharp money on the Eagles at 7.5, and that will in turn make me not move on the Eagles right now. And if I wanted to move on the Eagles, I think that I would need to look at a team total or a first half team total. I think that would be a more appealing spot for me. But I imagine if they cash their first half team total, then they'll cash the first half as well. I imagine those, will be intertwined. So I guess when we leave this game right now, as you have it as part of the first half of your teaser, I do think that the Eagles' first half team total over is the most appealing thing that I can see right now. Expecting them to come out much, much stronger than what they did against Belichick, who had so much time to prepare. Right now, that first half team total is sitting at 14.5 at plus 110. Of course, they're not going to give you the 14.
So you think the Vikings are going to be live offensively to keep the score in range?
From my X's and O's, I would say no. But I have to respect this market move from 7.5 to 7, and I need to sit with it longer and decide. The books are respecting it, so I must then as well. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Ryan Johnson says, I think the over is the play. Says, I think we'll see turnovers from the Vikings resulting in easy points
that's
for
my
the
guy right there, Ryan Johnson.
Eagles. Ryan
really
Johnson
sharp.
liking the over in that spot. So is Sammy Calmer liking the over. Harold Williams giving us a final score of 31-23. Johnny Gunn says he feels regression hangover from the Eagles' amazing season. The Vikings have the ability to make this a 3-point game. He leans towards the dog.
You see, I think they got punched in the mouth a little bit by Belichick, and I think that kind of is going to wake up the beast, the sleeping giant, earlier than expected.
I think they both got punched in the mouth. That's the problem.
But the Vikings don't have the pieces to respond. I know. I agree.
I agree. I agree. If this was simply X's and O's and we didn't touch the market, I'd be very interested in the Eagles. And I still think that first half team total over is very appealing. JT liking the over in the Vikes Eagles. Saturated said Vikes about to be 0-2. That's good. I have their season win total under. All right. That is our first game here. Anything you want to add to the Eagles as the first half of your official teaser?
I mean, there's kind of a lot I want to add, but we got to get moving on some of these games.
Well, let's move on. But that Eagles first half team total over, even at plus 110 to get the plus money, I find it appealing. To get to 17 points is very doable here against this Vikings defense that got no pressure at all on Baker Mayfield. All right. Birdie agreeing with you, saying Belichick had 4 months to prepare. Bad spot for Eagles last week, and they still won. Christopher Tatum on the Eagles -6.5, -120. All right, let's move on.